Riley Gaines must be so excited because she fought tooth and nail for women's rights to sports.
How did we get to the point where we just completely forgot like the human anatomy and biology? That was completely forgotten. Pronouns were, used as weapons. But thankfully, common sense has prevailed. Donald Trump has saved the West.
The Italian-American pasta war continues with some aplomb. Still with me tonight is Republican strategist Sarah Selip and the Telegraph's Connor Stringer. Guys, big sports news tonight. The Olympic authorities are tightening the rules and edging much closer in banning transgender women from competing in all-female category events. Sarah, this is kind of one of those stories you read and go, how are we still having this argument and why is it not done yet?
I'm so sick of it. Like, the thems need to get out of the sports that these girls have trained for their entire career. I played sports for 18 years. Like, men play tennis so much differently. Field hockey exists for a reason. Like, I cannot believe this. Riley Gaines must be so excited because she fought tooth and nail for women's rights to sports, and now the rest of the world is following suit.
Do you think it's a Trump thing? In terms of like the cultural shift across the world is kind of been led, when Trump was re-elected, even before he was across the threshold, you had corporate America rushing to ditch all the DEI nonsense to kind of suddenly start, ripping up rainbow pavements and actually returning to semblance of normality before the great woke blip of the beginning of this decade. Do you think this is a Trump effect?
Absolutely. I mean, look what happened between Dylan Mulvaney as Audrey Hepburn to now this super masculine Bud Light revival. And I think that's the same around the world. And people aren't afraid to take a step back from being progressive, except if you're, in France and a Gen Z are protesting. But in that vein, everybody knows that Trump is actually doing the right thing for our country and they want to follow suit.
Connor, he's only gone and done it, saved the West again.
He's done it. I mean, it's actually mental when you really think about it that the Olympics at one point was going to allow men to compete in women's sports. This was the gold standards of sports,
it's
competition, which was prided itself in fair anti-doping contests that, was for everyone to enter. If you were the fittest, the best, you could play. Mental that we actually got to play.
I mean, I've kind of we've riffed on this before. Not you and I certainly haven't over a Guinness, but we were on the show before. Is that? Do you think we're going to look back at those years of sort of 2012 to really this year, just a sort of weird blip in human history?
I think it's bizarre, isn't it? That kind of COVID era, woke war era. I mean, how did we get to the point where we just completely forgot like the human anatomy and biology? That was completely forgotten. Pronouns were, used as weapons and language, and then we had campaigns for our men to compete in women's sports. But thankfully, common sense has prevailed. Donald Trump has saved the West, and hopefully this is the last of it.
And there's cricket in the Olympics this year. So good news all round. Talking of DEI policies, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dhillon, who sat in that chair just last week, says a case of anti-white hiring discrimination has been brought to her attention. An applicant named David sent exactly the same resume twice, once as David and once as DeShawn. And guess who got the job? It was DeShawn. Are we again in that vein of sort of reversing back some of the sort of cultural extremes that have happened in the last 10 years? Do you think this is this is the sort of thing that's happening across the board?
I could spend about 5 hours on this topic.
Go on, we got 10 minutes.
I don't want to take it away from you. But so there's just so many things going on. This is the Mamdani effect. At least people are speaking out about the fact that he said he was like African or something.
Well, he said he was African American on one college application. He said he was Southeast Asian on another, and he had about 6 different accents throughout the last year. But we forget all about that now because obviously
Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth
Warren is so jealous right now, but that's what it comes down to. A lot of people feel like they can get away with a lot of things, but in the age of background checks and social media and $199 to get past a paywall, people can just get to whatever they need to at this point. But if you look at the past, let's say 40 years in American history, there are so many minority Americans who had extremely white first names and then traditional cultural middle names because that would help them get jobs.
Yeah.
And, if you see a David versus a DeShawn, usually throughout our history, you would probably look for the David over the DeShawn. But DEI has infiltrated so much of our country, and thank God for Donald Trump for, rooting.
He's done it again.
Exactly.
He saved the West.
Sunlight.
God, I mean, God, I don't need diversity. It is discrimination in reverse.
Of course it is, but this, I think, is a classic example of playing the DEI game, isn't it? Unfortunately, we got to a point, I think, as this individual has done, where you actually end up playing up your minorities or disabilities in order to get the job that you would never probably have.
But it feels the backlash to this is in America is far further ahead. In fact, actually, Britain's sort of playing catch-up here. I'm reminded again of that MI6 security service advert, which basically says if you're white, don't apply. Absolutely. And by the way, you don't have to go to university. Don't even think about that.
TfL adverts on the daily, isn't it? Looking for kind of those from BM backgrounds that apply for certain jobs and essentially banning white applicants. Yeah, we're playing catch-up, and I think just the cultural shift hasn't reached the UK. Perhaps we need an individual like Trump or a Trump-like figure to kind of spur that.
Who is that man?
If I was
Nigel Farage?
Well, potentially seems that most likely candidate, doesn't it? But he's not exactly the full polish.
Well, he says he's going to get rid of plain packaging on cigarettes. He's going to bring back happy hour. I mean, surely he's the man to.
He's got my vote if it's got happy hour. I think we can say that after how good it is here. Another
crazy story today, and this one really has blown my mind. Syria's newly installed leader, I wouldn't hasten to say elected, he was elected with an AK-47 in his hand. Ahmed al-Sharaa, he is in DC now. He is here. He's at the White House. This is a guy that until I think this morning had a $10 million bounty on his head from the United States. He was an insurgent in Iraq who was detained by the United States. He was an Al-Qaeda affiliate, to put it nicely. He didn't quite like ISIS, but the guys he was fighting with weren't exactly friendly bunch. I'm not sure he's here to save the West, Sarah, but it's remarkable to see Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance embrace this guy that until like a year ago was hanging out the back of an open-deck truck driving across the desert with a machine gun.
Diplomacy, the art of the deal, but honestly, just based off of some things we were saying, scrolling, during the break, interesting that he came into town a week after Ozempic prices went down.
Are you suggesting that he's on rations now, right? They're a little bit better than his time in the desert?
I mean, I don't really know much about that man, but his waistline in those pictures, whew.
I mean, his Rolex is looking pretty swish these days. Remarkable.
Remarkable. I mean, look, we've got the 250th anniversary of the military tomorrow, Veterans Day tomorrow, right? And we have just had a former jihad donor.
Where's your poppy?
I know. I blame the studio for not having spares. Not mine. We have Veterans Day tomorrow, and we have a former jihad who has walked into the White House, shaking hands with the president, standing kind of shoulder to shoulder with military commanders, having committed and killed hundreds and thousands of Americans.
Right.
I thought it was interesting the one time that Donald Trump didn't want to be on camera. He normally does shaky hand man and he does the Oval Office sprays and he has a conversation on camera. Presumably that was deliberate, so.
Yeah. Absolutely, 1,000,000%. It's coming up on the 250, and he's been one of those people who is very anti-American, very anti-Western way of life. And if I were in the military and seeing this, at least there's diplomacy. At least Trump can maybe make some movement towards it. But good on him for the etiquette, for just based off of what we were saying about the transparency, having something behind closed doors that benefits our country moving forward, but not in this minute. Is it exactly what we need to see?
He seemed pretty. He loves a hard man, doesn't he, Trump? He absolutely loves a tough guy. He was like, this guy is a strong leader.
Yeah, that's it. He loves a strong
leader. He loves someone. Guy was in Al-Qaeda.
He loves someone who's good looking and he's got a bit rugged, tough look about him, doesn't he? That's the two things you need. Exactly. And it's funny that because then all the kind of jihadi, instances of killing ex-Mod Americans or whatever he was involved in seemingly gets disappeared. But I think it's interesting you make about foreign diplomacy. What we're seeing here is Trump's actual ability to probably put aside things that have happened in the past. As long as you're loyal to him and you obviously are open and welcome to come to do business with the United States, I think all things can be forgiven.
Indeed. Right, finally, talking of wars, the Italian-American pasta war continues with some aplomb. Think your spaghetti's safe? Think again. The US is slapping 107% tariff on major Italian pasta brands imported. So, it reports today that 13 household name pasta brands are going to disappear from the shelf within days. Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, under huge pressure to try and tackle the tariffs. Sarah, this is the tariff wars coming home to roost. Do you think Americans, when they can't get their favourite spaghetti, might start to turn against this policy?
Make America healthy again, but this really doesn't help.
Or can you make your own pasta at home?
Yes, it's chickpea flour, brown rice flour, but here.
We could do a spin-off cookery show.
Oh, exactly.
We would make our
I think we
tariff-free
should.
pasta.
I'll happily taste test.
But I'm gluten-free, so I pass it along.
Okay.
Maybe not. Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, you try to order a bottle of French wine in America, suddenly it's eye-wateringly expensive because of those tariffs.
Well,
these little things that
it is little things, and the issue with tariffs are that they are really good in the first instance, and you kind of reap the rewards of the financial benefits, but the long-term impact, it's a delay, right? It comes like 2 to 3 months down the line, and that's what we're seeing from Tariff Day, where he stood outside and listed all these tariffs. Obviously, Britain pretty high up there as well.
10% rather than the EU.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Brexit dividend there.
Brexit did dividend, but what we're seeing now is the impact it's having on the economy, good or for worse, and people are starting to feel the pinch.
So there was a fascinating thing last night, Sarah, that Donald Trump was on True Social. Obviously, I got my alert. He's saying he could, Trump checks could be back, and he could do $2,000 tariff checks. I mean, people are going to be pretty happy with a $2,000 check in their bank account, aren't they?
For the most part, but you could honestly, there are so many Instagram memes going around about this, but there would be so many Democrats who would honestly consider chopping it up because Trump.
Did they do that last time? I mean, because they had Trump checks during COVID, I think, as a stimulus effect. Were they? I'm pretty sure at the end of the day you're going to take your $900 or whatever it was.
I have no idea because I couldn't hear them from behind their mask from 6 feet away.
I mean, that's the way to the American public is.
It is
because frankly, tariffs end up being paid for by the consumers anyway. Bit of cash back.
I mean, who doesn't want that? I mean, it's a vote winner, isn't it? I mean, who wouldn't want to kind of see the actual physical rewards of American foreign policy by getting some actual money and cash in your bank? Quite a decent little reward there.
I mean, the tariffs were predicted to widely cause the economic doom. It was Orange Wednesday, I think, the day that the markets reacted. But frankly, the resilience of the US economy has bounced back.
I mean, people underestimate the size of this thing. I mean, it's one of the richest countries in the world for a reason, right?
Still make stuff.
Stuff, exactly. And that's this American first agenda paired with tariffs actually are quite obviously a very good economy and combination. You're driving investment back to the US while making your own.
Connor, Sarah, thank you. Fascinating chat tonight. Broad subjects as ever.